General Hospital spoilers reveal that Michael's return is not just a family reunion after all the turmoil, but a powerful catalyst that sparks a major shift in Sonny's strategy and mindset in facing the dark forces surrounding him. After everything that has happened, from the horrific explosion at the penthouse that almost killed Michael, to the assassination attempt on Sonny in Los Angeles, everything is slowly revealing a terrifying truth. His enemies are no longer acting randomly and sporadically, but are part of a sophisticated, dangerous network with one single goal: to destroy Sonny Corinthos, no matter the consequences. And Michael's return, as a survivor of that violent vortex, is becoming the clearest call that Sonny can no longer hesitate or delay. In the past, Sonny could choose to protect his family by keeping them away from his dark world, believing that distance would serve as an effective shield. But Michael, who seemed to have stepped away from that world, became the direct victim of an attack that was originally aimed at Sonny. And that changed everything. The burns on Michael's body are not just physical consequences but a vivid indictment showing that Sonny's enemies no longer distinguish between the primary target and loved ones. Everyone has become a pawn in the bloody chess game. Michael is no longer a young man torn between love and disappointment for his father, but is slowly transforming into a man determined to seek justice, not only for himself but for his entire family. His reappearance marks a new beginning, a much-needed push that forces Sonny to restructure his entire defense network while shifting from a passive stance to an active offensive. Michael's wounds have become the flame that lights the path of revenge that Sonny has never dared to walk before. And this time, he is not alone, for Michael brings not just information, emotions, or memories, but a new source of energy, a vital motivation that pushes Sonny further into the hunt for the person behind it all. This turning point marks a significant shift in Sonny's mindset and actions. He is no longer complacent with old alliances, no longer believes that silence will make everything calm down. Instead, Sonny begins to set more complex traps, preparing carefully calculated snare after snare, pretending to be weak in order to lure the assassin into the open. He understands that there must be a leader behind these attacks, a shadowy figure whose identity remains the greatest mystery. Sonny needs a plan not just to capture the assassin but to force them to reveal the name pulling the strings behind the scenes. That's why Michael's return at just the right moment is not only about emotions or family, but is an essential part of the entire confrontation structure Sonny is setting up. He is a witness, a victim, one who bears the consequences, and now, step by step, he is becoming an ally. No one understands the pain of the Corinthos family more than Michael. And it is that very understanding that makes the partnership between father and son the deadliest weapon in this fight. Jason Morgan, Sonny's loyal friend, always ready to act in the shadows, will not be left out. If the three of them unite, the enemy will face a battle machine reborn from fire, blood, and rightful hatred. The dangers in Los Angeles. The penthouse fire, Michael's pain, and Sonny's change of strategy, all are converging into an irreversible chain reaction. This is one of the deepest shifts audiences have ever seen in Sonny. From a man who used force to control the world, he is now using intellect, alertness, and family connections to finally take the offensive and expose the entire truth. This battle is no longer about honor, power, or territory, it's about the survival of those Sonny loves. Michael's return is not just a character re-entering the game, but a catalyst that shifts the entire General Hospital universe. It forces everyone to reflect, to question, and to prepare for a battle where anyone could become the target. And when the truth is revealed, when the name behind the dangers comes to light, the only question left will be: will Sonny, after everything he has lost and everything he still has, be willing to sacrifice the last thing to win? A true seismic shift is slowly forming within Port Charles, and this time, it doesn't come from old enemies, but from a surprising discovery by Brick, the man who has always been Sonny Corinthos' most trusted backstage protector and loyal watchdog. The information Brick has gathered is not just signs of unusual activity or suspicious calls. It is an entire chain of dangerous connections, leading to a name no one ever expected: Drew Cain. All this time, Drew has remained a stable part of many people's lives, a battle-tested friend, a brother who sacrificed, and a man who seemed to always act out of honor and integrity. But what Brick's discovery is revealing is that there is another layer of truth, a hidden underground world, where Drew may be the link in the chain of tragedies that have rocked the Corinthos family. From the fire at the penthouse that nearly took Michael's life to the assassination attempt on Sonny in Los Angeles. The evidence shows that these seemingly unrelated pieces have one common connection: Drew's undeniable presence at critical moments. Along with shady financial activities conducted under the guise of companies Drew is linked to. Brick, with the instincts of someone who has lived in the shadows too long, knows that this coincidence cannot be ignored. And if he is right, then what Sonny is facing is no longer a hunt for an enemy, it is a battle against betrayal from within his own ranks. Sonny once thought he had seen every nefarious plot, that he knew how to control every external threat, that he had learned how to protect his loved ones by building cold, hard walls around them. But Brick's discovery forces Sonny to face a deeper fear: if Drew has truly betrayed him, that means even the relationships Sonny thought were untouchable could become weapons used to destroy him from within. This is not just an obsession, it is the cruelest nightmare. Because it strikes at the place Sonny thought was the safest: loyalty. That explains why Sonny's mind is now being pushed into a state of high alert. He no longer just thinks about responding to outlaws. He begins to doubt everything, every word, every action, every gesture of those around him. If Drew has been hiding such things for so long, what other deadly secrets might be quietly kept by others? And who truly holds the key to the entire chain of tragedies Sonny has been dealing with? Michael, the son wounded in the fire, is now an indispensable part of this story. For it is the pain and hatred Michael carries that fuels Sonny's determination to not overlook the clues Brick has just uncovered. Sonny can't wait any longer. This story has gone too far. Crossing the boundaries between factions, becoming a fight for survival between truth and lies, trust and betrayal. The new adjustments Sonny must make are no longer ordinary strategic decisions but a complete transformation in thinking. He must become colder, sharper, and even more ruthless if he wants to protect his life and the lives of those he loves. This means Sonny may have to face Drew head-on, the man he once saw as a trusted teammate, even a friend. And as Sonny prepares for decisive action, Brick continues to follow the remaining pieces of the puzzle. The story they are piecing together is not just about one act of betrayal, but a systemic plot. Where Drew, if he is the culprit, may be just one part of a much larger picture. Who is giving orders to Drew? What is the ultimate goal? And what can Sonny do to prevent the next catastrophe? In the dense darkness of suspicion, Sonny understands that he can no longer trust anyone blindly. Trust now has to be rebuilt from scratch, through action, through evidence, and through painful decisions. And if Drew is truly guilty, Sonny will not hesitate to strike, because for him, the survival of his family and the truth will always come first. Everything is leading to a storm like never before, one where the enemy does not come from the outside, but from within the closest of relationships. Brick has dropped the first bomb with the truth he found. Now, Sonny must choose: dive deeper into the truth and accept all the losses, or hesitate and lose everything. And that choice will decide not only Sonny's future but the future of the entire Corinthos family. Sonny Corinthos stands at an irreversible crossroads in his life, a life filled with blood, tears, and betrayal. The horrific events of the recent past have not only caused him physical and reputational losses but have also created deep psychological cracks in a psyche that was already scarred. From the failed assassination attempt in Los Angeles to the rooftop apartment fire that almost took Michael's life, each event has become a tsunami of devastation in Sonny's life, washing away any remaining boundaries of trust, patience, and even humanity. And now, as Brick's discoveries begin to reveal a horrifying truth, that someone like Drew could be involved in this series of traumatic events, an entirely new Sonny is rising. Not a father. Not a mob boss who controls everything with sharpness and reason, but a warrior who has been stripped of everything and is ready to burn whatever is left in a quest for vengeance. What Sonny feels now is no longer just anger. It is a whirlwind combining betrayal, helplessness, pain, and a desperate craving to regain control over the world around him. He cannot bear to watch his son, Michael, be dragged into a ruthless spiral he cannot stop. He cannot sit idly by when those once called friends, allies, can turn into threats from behind. And the most terrifying thing of all, he no longer has the time to analyze, listen, or forgive. The world has changed, and so has Sonny. The transformation taking place within him is a rebirth from the depths of disaster, and there is no room left for weakness or hesitation. In the past, Sonny was someone who knew how to balance the light and dark. He was not a good man, but he had his rules. He never hesitated to use force, but he always placed family above all. But now, when family itself has become the source of danger, when someone he once called a friend can indirectly cause a tragedy, those rules have become meaningless. Sonny is shedding every layer of his old self to take on a completely new identity, cold, sharp, unforgiving, and no longer bound by moral constraints. Every step he takes from now on will no longer be mere tactical moves. They will be sharp blows to the heart of his enemies, forward steps that cannot be turned back. Sonny is preparing for a war in which he must not only defeat his enemies but also destroy any remaining illusions of peace, justice, or trust. He no longer needs anyone to understand him or forgive him. What he needs now is the certainty that whoever is behind all this suffering, whether it's Drew or anyone else, will pay dearly. With everything they have. The madness does not lie in Sonny losing his mind. On the contrary, he has never been more clear-headed. But it is a clarity formed in the darkness. Where everything he once protected has been torn apart, and everything he once trusted has betrayed him. He knows he is changing, knows that what is rising in his heart is an unrelenting fury. And he accepts it. Because only by becoming a monster can Sonny face the other monsters lurking in the shadows. And when someone like Sonny, a man who was once the pillar of an entire criminal world, has no choice but to transform into a stronger, more terrifying version of himself, it is no longer a mere change. It is a revolution. Those around him will have to adapt or be swept up in his storm of rage. Jason may be the only one brave enough to keep up. But even he will realize that Sonny is no longer the man he once loyally served. Carly, Michael, and even the children, they will all have to learn to live in a world where Sonny is no longer fighting for protection but for revenge, for absolute control, and for his own survival. The disaster is not just assassinations, unseen enemies, or dangerous underground networks. The true disaster is when someone like Sonny Corinthos, who has lived nearly his entire life in the darkness, finally decides to no longer retreat, to show no mercy, and to retain no humanity. This is proving that one of the greatest adjustments in the history of his life is taking place, a complete transformation, from a mob boss with his own code of ethics to an absolute power. Where no one is safe if they stand in the wrong place. And when Sonny truly begins this fight, not everyone will survive to tell the tale. For this war is unlike any other. It is not about territory, nor about defending a reputation. This is a fight to redefine who he is. And when Sonny's madness reaches its peak, the only thing everyone can do is prepare for the final storm. A storm that, when it passes, will leave nothing behind, except a new man rising from the ashes, with no mercy, no fear, and no way back. Michael Corinthos, once the bearer of the hope for a different future. An escape from the endless cycle of violence and crime, now finds himself slowly returning to the very path he once condemned. This is not because Michael has forgotten his ideals, but because the harsh reality has forced him to set them aside and confront the brutal truth. Sometimes only ruthless action can end the chain of betrayal and suffering that is drowning everything he loves. And that is why Michael's willingness to join forces with Sonny and Jason is no longer a mere assumption, but is slowly becoming an inevitability, a significant shift that deeply reflects a change in his mentality, personality, and nature. The rooftop apartment fire, where Michael was severely injured, is not just an attack. It is a declaration of war. It is a direct punch to the last illusions Michael held about fairness, safety, and truth. And when Brick uncovers evidence suggesting that Drew, a man Michael once trusted as family, could be involved in this, everything collapses in an instant. Family turns to suspicion. trust turns to hatred. And the strongest bonds suddenly become as fragile as spider silk, just waiting for the slightest breeze to snap. From the depths of his obsession with what has happened, Michael begins to realize that the truth is no longer in the hands of the law, nor in promises of morality. Truth, if it is to be reclaimed, must be dragged into the light by claws and blood. He is no longer patient enough to wait for traditional justice to knock on his door. And he no longer trusts that those around him will stand by him with genuine intentions. Thus, his choice to collaborate with Sonny and Jason is no longer a matter of inner conflict. It is a necessary step, even if it costs him his conscience and his dignity. The irony is that Michael once stood opposed to Sonny precisely because of how his father handled everything with violence. He once distanced himself from Jason because he could not accept the man's constant position in the gray area between right and wrong. But now, it is these two men who are the only ones capable of helping him reach the end of the truth, to expose the traitor, and to bring to light everything that has bled in the darkness. In the midst of the chaos, Michael is no longer the boy he once was. He is a man who has been forced to grow up in the harshest way, through the betrayal of his family, through his own blood, and through the fear that everything he once believed in was just an illusion. The hatred between Michael and Drew, if confirmed, will be one of the darkest storylines Port Charles has ever seen. It will not only be the rift between two men who once saw each other as brothers. It will be the division of the core values that once kept this community from falling apart. And while Michael is boiling with anger fueled by pain and betrayal, Drew, if he is truly part of this conspiracy, could become the embodiment of everything Michael once tried to avoid. A ghost from the past returning, not only to destroy what is left but also to prove that no one, whether good or bad, can escape the vicious cycle of power and ambition. Michael's willingness to forsake the light to walk into the darkness with Sonny and Jason is one of the deepest changes he has ever undergone. He no longer acts for nobility. He acts for survival. To protect what remains. And to punish the one who made him this way. His obsession is no longer a fleeting emotion, it has become Michael's second nature. A driving force that propels him to act with speed, determination, and a level of ruthlessness that even Sonny will need to be wary of. All three, Michael, Sonny, and Jason, if they truly combine forces, will form an unstoppable alliance. A power triangle full of contradictions, bonded by pain, loss, and hatred. Each one of them has an unhealed wound. Each has lost something that can never be regained. And now, they are uniting not to rebuild, but to take revenge. To expose all the lies, and if necessary, to burn everything in their path. This change, from a Michael who once fought for justice to a Michael who now fights for blood, is the clearest indication that Port Charles is no longer a place of simple hope. It is a place where darkness reigns. A battleground where the good are forced to become ruthless, if they do not want to be swallowed. And Michael, whether he likes it or not, has become an inseparable part of that battlefield. The story is still unfolding. But one thing is already clear, no one is the same as before. No value is untouchable. And when Michael truly steps into the darkness, joining hands with the very people he once saw as symbols of the wrong path, all that is left is an inescapable war, where winning or losing no longer matters. The only thing that will matter is, who will survive to have the last word. Sonny has spent his entire life walking the thin line between power and violence, between light and darkness, between loyalty and betrayal. And now, after years soaked in blood, the deaths of comrades, shattered vows, and countless painful memories etched in his mind, Sonny begins to consider something he never dared dream of before: retirement. No more waking up with a gun beside his pillow, no more having to watch out for fake handshakes, no more living under constant tension. Sonny simply wants to live peacefully for once. To see his children grow up without fearing they will become targets. But in the world Sonny belongs to, retirement is not that simple. It's not a concept as casual as an office worker leaving after 30 years on the job. In Sonny's world, retirement means leaving behind a huge power vacuum, where every enemy who has been subdued under his reign begins to smell opportunity. And it's the very thought of Sonny stepping back that starts to distort the air around Port Charles. Tension rises. Underground alliances begin to shake. Conspirators rise from the shadows. And once again, the city sinks into suspicion and fear. No one can deny that Sonny is a man of control. He doesn't just run an empire, he's created an invisible order where chaos must follow rules set by him. He's the kind of man that even enemies must respect because, under his rule, everything, though bloody, remains under control. But now, with the one who kept the balance stepping away, everything begins to tremble. And the scariest part is, no one is truly ready to take over. Jason is the most loyal, the one who has stepped across the line between life and death to protect Sonny. But loyalty doesn't equate to leadership. Jason can protect, can fight, but to rule, to keep the whole system running smoothly, that's another matter. Carly has a sharp mind, the skills, but she's too emotionally invested. With too many complicated connections that make every decision vulnerable to influence. Michael, on the other hand, though he carries Sonny's blood, has never fully stepped into that world. He's a man of two worlds, of ideals and darkness. But that very duality makes him more vulnerable and torn than anyone else. When Sonny announces his retirement, he doesn't just open the door to a new era, he opens the door to every silent enemy who once bowed to him, now seizing the chance to speak up. Old foes thought long gone begin to reappear in new forms. Former partners, who once cooperated out of fear, start to renegotiate, pulling strings behind the scenes, sowing instability from within. And in the meantime, those closest to Sonny have no idea that their lives, every minute, every second, are being pushed into danger. The power transfer is no longer a political formality. It's a silent battle. A high-risk game where every wrong decision could lead to death, where every glance, every word, every silence could carry life or death consequences. Sonny knows this. He's not naive enough to think he can walk away without repercussions. And so, he begins to prepare, quietly but thoroughly. He monitors every connection, tests every ally, evaluates every potential traitor. Sonny doesn't leave quietly. He leaves like a man about to make his final move on the chessboard, one where, even if he's not sitting at the center, he's still the one pulling the strings. But the greatest obsession is not what Sonny leaves behind, it's what he cannot control, the change in the people he loves. Michael, his son, is slowly walking down the path Sonny once tried to keep him away from. What's happened to Michael recently, from the explosion in the apartment to the suspicions about Drew, has reignited a fire inside him, a fire Sonny knows all too well because it once burned through his own heart decades ago. Jason, the man who was once Sonny's right hand, is now struggling with old wounds and a sense of being lost, no longer giving orders, no longer having a clear goal. And Carly, the woman who once loved Sonny in the deepest way, is now trying to hold on to whatever's left while the whole world crumbles around her. Sonny isn't just stepping away. He's leaving behind a heavy legacy. A bloody legacy, demanding that the successor be stronger, more ruthless, and smarter than anyone else. But the world around him is changing. And the new powers don't play by the old rules. A silent crisis is brewing, a new obsession is rising, not only within the characters but within the very system that once functioned under Sonny's rule. And it's exploding, minute by minute, hour by hour, while the man himself is slowly stepping back into the shadows, watching everything from afar, with the eyes of a man who once ruled, now powerless. Witnessing the empire he built possibly crumble to dust. Sonny has never been weak. But this time, he's tired. And the fatigue of a crime boss doesn't come from age, it comes from watching loved ones suffer, from realizing that, despite living his whole life to control, there are still things beyond his reach. And when a man like Sonny starts to think about the end, the world he leaves behind, might never be the same.